Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto to No Crypto. I'm your host, the Crypto Coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today we're joined again by Dele from Metaproof Group. Dele, recurring guest on here. Great to have you on again. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be back, Wayne. Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. So, we just wanted to catch up and find out what's happening lately with what you guys are building there at Metaproof Group. Right, we talked about in the past with MetaMe, and there's been some brand evolution as well too. But before we jump into that, man, there's probably some people that may be listening to this that haven't seen the other podcasts. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Cool. Hi. So great again. Dele Atanda. I've been in the space for a very long while. Effectively, my passion has always been data ownership, data sovereignty. Worked with a couple of large multinationals in the past, including IBM, where I headed up digital for automotive, aerospace, and defense. And as I worked around data, I just got fascinated about the whole space, and it led me into this whole journey around data sovereignty, data ownership. And this is a long time ago, but going back to 2009, where we, started to see that there were issues with it. Long story short, we set up a NGO called the Internet Foundation in 2013. We were the first organization to call for a universal declaration of digital rights as an extension of human rights, which remains our North Star till today. And we've been working on a protocol, and it's a series of frameworks around how to enable this technology to give people a way to own their data and to own their identity, to own privacy, and to use tech to make the world more safe, more privacy enabling, more humanistic, effectively, as opposed to less. And so that really brought us to where we are today, to kind of bring it all kind of to a full circle. We basically we've done lots of projects in the interim. So MetaMe, we were the world's first self-sovereign personal AI, an AI that works for you, a guardian agent that basically guards you as you deal with other AI systems. And we also then launched a crypto media franchise called Meta, which was really designed to be a way to connect people more emotionally with this stuff, because it gets really technical and dry very quickly. So we wanted to create a way to make the conversation engaging. And so we launched a comic franchise back in 2019 with the first crypto comic, Meta first comic minted on chain, and we got the receipts to prove it back in 2019. And but the big sort of evolution in the last 18, 24 months is really been the advances in the technology have really brought us to a place where things can happen really quickly. So we basically have rebranded. We've basically rebranded on two fronts. On one front, Metaproof, our group, is basically the consolidation of all of our entities. So MetaMe, Meta, Metaia Media, the Internet Foundation. And then on the tech front as well, we've basically consolidated all of our protocols into a group of protocols, which we call the Quantum Ready Internet Protocols, Crypto, QRIPTO. And so that's really our real sort of consolidation of everything going forward.
Nice, a lot of great stuff. So we're definitely going to dive in there. So tell everybody that has listened before. So what's happened since we last talked outside of the rebranding?
Oh, yeah. So the tech, the thing about this is, again, we spoke last time about how the two big advances in terms of cryptography and generative AI have enabled things that weren't possible before, particularly on the permissionless open network front, in terms of privacy, anonymity, and all the stuff that, is really central to what we do. And at the heart of our protocols, we have these iCubes, which are these information containers. And the key thing is that they manage private and public data in a way that you can verify publicly information and identity and all of these things without exposing them. So you can keep all of your private data private, but you can verify what is in this payload publicly without exposing it. And so these primitives are really foundational. They're really, and the big, I can't remember if when we last spoke, whether we'd actually done our integration with Bitcoin into the Bitcoin network. I think we were talking about it being on the roadmap. So that's completed now. So now we basically have created iCubes as these Bitcoin native primitives, which basically means that anytime we mint an iCube, and an iCube can be any kind of In fact, a better way to think about them rather than as data or even information is knowledge. It's like they're these knowledge Lego bricks. And those knowledge bricks can be like just structured data, like a form, or they can be unstructured data, which is basically like video or audio blobs, as they're called in the industry, right? But that's content effectively. But then they can be tools, they can be LLMs in terms of models, and then they can be AI agents. So these are what we call intelligence primitives. But the key thing is that they're just basically like building blocks of these intellectual intelligence assets that you can now put together and create these experiences or tools or capabilities. And because they are so, and also all of them fundamentally secured by the Bitcoin network. So basically everything has an identity and every transaction is traceable. And all we batch all of these transactions together, hash them, and then inscribe those hashes down to ordinals. So we don't bloat the Bitcoin network, but we use it as a ledger of truth. So Bitcoin is the most secure information network on the planet. So we basically leverage Bitcoin as a decentralized information network rather than as a monetary system. Which it is, of course, it's the world's money system. Of course, it's the future of money, but more importantly, it's also the future of information security. So we leverage that, and we've completed that integration, and that works. But the key thing as well, I'm a maxi by many counts, but I'm also very pragmatic. All money, my mantra is that Bitcoin is money and all money is Bitcoin, but most data is in EVMs, right?
Right.
And effectively, we're in a generative AI, we're in an agentic AI era. The agentic internet is coming. So this Bitcoin is way behind on that. But we've basically, that's over with our protocol because we basically brought those together now because our information primitives are Bitcoin native, but completely interoperable across EVMs. So we're now integrated in testnet across 7 chains: Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and 4 other EVMs. And that's all complete and that's all done. But the thing that I'm now really starting to have fun with is because now we've got the infrastructure done completely. We've got MCP integration for tools to connect. We've got this registry that finds everything. We've got A2A, the agent to agent protocol, which has recently been given by Google to the Linux Foundation. And then ERC 8004, which is Ethereum's approach on how you make those agents work in an open, trustless manner, because the Linux model basically assumes that agents know each other and trust each other. So we're doing this now in a permissionless way. We've got all of that integrated. So the whole stack is working and is integrated. And now we actually get to the really fun piece, which is like the capabilities and tools that you can build on top of it. So what I am really finding out now is that the ability to do really groundbreaking, innovative kind of applications and experiences is so easy for us because we've got this solid foundation. So that's where I'm having fun now.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people would probably be wondering. I think as they listen to this or learn more about what you're doing, um, the technical people have followed along, right? But let's talk about some of those applications or ideas that could be built with this now. That an everyday person is going to use.
Right. So I think there are two that really, I'll go through 3 examples that really sort of come to mind. One, which, let's bridge, let's kind of carry the conversation from where we are, technology, crypto, to culture, which is where we'll finish. And the bridge between that is money, crypto money. So one of the first applications that we built on top of this is it's twofold. There's an application and there's a micro stablecoin. So we've introduced a micro stablecoin, a stablecoin pegged to the US penny. And we had this concept for a while, and people laughed about it, said that yeah, well, all crypto is fractionalized down to, and we spoke about this on our last podcast even, fractionalized down and people understand it. Yeah, but people don't understand that Bitcoin, Satoshis versus Bitcoin, for example, people don't understand that, there's 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin. And they think, I miss Bitcoin, it's like $100,000 now. So fractionalization is a problem for people intellectually to grasp at a mass level. So we, on that basis, on this bridge between humans and machines, we figured that a micro stablecoin was a good bridge. But it actually turns out as well that when you have a micro stablecoin for sub-cent transactions, for any transactions that are lower than a penny, it's 100% cheaper to use and faster to use a micro stablecoin as a dominant denomination. So we launched a micro stablecoin. We created a micro stablecoin again across our 7 reference chains. And then we launched a micro stablecoin high frequency trading agent, Agent Moneypenny. So Agent Moneypenny is an agent that can really allow people to come in and understand crypto and particularly crypto trading through high frequency trading. And the way that it works, and she was born out of, I say she, but we anthropomorphize. There's going to be a lot of that now as we go forward because the agents our agents particularly are spatial. They're not just they're not just code on a screen. They're embodied. They're virtually, physically, digitally embodied, but embodied nonetheless. So we talk about Agent Moneypenny as a she. Of course, she's an agent, so she's not really real. But she's real, but she's not physical. She's not human, but she's she. And so she. With Agent Moneypenny application, you can come in and scan your bank account, your bank statements, 6 months worth of bank statements, and automatically it will recommend based on your spending and based on your activities, a allocation that you can put towards high frequency crypto cent trading. And basically crypto cent trading is just trading against the arbitrage of slippage across macro stable coins versus on one hand, Circle or Tether, versus our versions of them at a micro stablecoin basis across our chains, and where's the slippage, and you can capture that. And we incentivize people to do that effectively because that helps us stabilize our micro stablecoin. So our vision is that we will become the most stable stablecoin of all because we're working at 2 orders of magnitude smaller than everyone else, right? So, and of course, for agent to agent commerce, this is going to become key. So this is the first application. It's a bridge. It's still a bit technical, I know, but it is kind of that sits in that space where people who are newbies to crypto can come in and learn about the space. And it's agentic. So Agent Moneypenny will coach you and walk you through what you do. You can do research around trades, and you can ask it, should I buy Bitcoin today? And it will give you a response. It will research the market, come back, give you insights around what Bitcoin is doing today and compare it with other ones and launch a trade strategy for you and give you maximum, manage your risk, etc. All on micro stable coins. So your risk is very limited anyway, but your learning is the same. So that's the first application.
A few things there, man. So I would think, I would want an agent when somebody asks, is it good to buy Bitcoin today? The answer should always be yes, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
course.
that's a great point. And, and look, I think, yeah, no, you're right. And I think, but I think this is one of the core things in terms of crypto literacy, in terms of what is your long-term wealth building strategy versus what is your short-term trading strategy, right?
Right.
And, effectively, I think, and that's a really great strategy in terms of how do you flip and trade and day trade and set your agent up to day trade, because quite frankly, none of us are going to be doing this ourselves next
Right.
year, but how do you set your agent up to trade and then capture that and use it to stack Bitcoin, stack
Right.
sats effectively,
Yeah.
right? That's I think the winning formula. But you might use some BTC or some Satoshis in the context of that to drive your trades, so that you can accumulate more and build up your wealth.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. So that's kind of, I wanted to poke fun at that because that's kind of for me. But yeah, I mean, looking at knowing a strategy, if someone's trading strategy, it may not be a good day to buy Bitcoin for their trading strategy, but maybe for a long term hold strategy. So identifying their I guess you could say their strategies, their patterns, and you can do that. But yeah, that's one thing. The other thing, a couple things you mentioned too, like you're right, the crypto cent being something that's it's a whole unit that is pegged to a penny. It's important because you're right. People don't understand. Everybody that doesn't know enough about Bitcoin, which is a lot of people in the world, most people, they don't know that how it's fractionalized. And so just coming back recently from Binance Blockchain Week, when I travel, I'm always wearing something that has Bitcoin on it, right? That's kind of my thing. I have to say I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but I do think everything should start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the hardest money. Everything else, there's a sliding scale around it, and you should really focus on, like, right, the EVM chains. They do something that Bitcoin can't, right? So that should be the focus, is instead of, oh, Bitcoin went up 1,000x already. Let me get this other thing that's going to go up 1,000x. So,
Right. Right.
um, but they don't understand that. And just actually, when I landed in the airport on the way back, and I'm walking through, and I think I have a Bitcoin hat and a Bitcoin shirt on, and this guy that worked at the airport was pushing a cart. I guess he was maybe stocking some refreshments or something. And after, of course, he asked me about how much Bitcoin I had. We kind of laughed about it, and then he said, like, isn't it too late for Bitcoin? Because people see a price and they think, oh, that's it, instead of thinking at the Satoshi level. And then we've got to go into this whole, it gives a chance to have that conversation, but we can't have a conversation with everybody, and understanding that. Um, I think more if we talked about Satoshis more than Bitcoin, then people would understand it's not too late. Oh, Bitcoin's, what? I mean, I guess it's like, what, 86, 87,000 a day, but, it fluctuates. But instead of that, saying, Satoshi, you know, one Satoshi is worth a fraction of a cent, or, 1 cent,
Yeah, it's even more, isn't it? I mean, it's like 8 satoshis is 1 cent is about 8 satoshis now, right?
yeah,
Eight and a half satoshis. So you're absolutely right, and humans are like that. You got to keep it really simple,
yeah,
but we just need to shift the narrative to satoshis. We need to kind of just move the narrative completely from Bitcoin to satoshis, and that's what CryptoCent effectively does. It basically shifts the narrative, the crypto narrative, from Bitcoin to Satoshis. And the fact that we can actually granularize and anchor engagements down at that level, which
yeah,
actually, and quite frankly, I mean, and I take your point. I'm a kind of Bitcoin maxi. I mean, I guess true maxi would call me a heretic, because in their world it's just nothing but Bitcoin. But
right,
in my world, I'm in an agentic AI world more than anything else. That is really what's a quantum crypto agentic AI world. And even that's a real problem with Bitcoin, because the minimum transaction on Bitcoin network is 540 sats, right? You can't do that's the whole issue of Bitcoin Dust is the limitation of the Bitcoin network from an agentic perspective, right?
right,
And I see so basically what's on the real horizon for us is crypto coin, which is
yeah,
like our coin protocol. So effectively within our crypto protocols, there's basically the IQ protocol, which is content information, which we've discussed. There's the agent protocol, which is agents that use IQs, basically that are auditable and traceable and trackable. And then there's the coin protocol, and the coin protocol basically is data backed information. So I want to make, I'll finish the point about Dust. So the first problem with Dust is that, yeah, you can't do a transaction for less than 540 sats on Bitcoin. So that's why all this Dust sits around. But in our world, actually, each of those sats, we can fractionalize down to the sat. So we can enable transactions at the sats level, which Bitcoin can't really go to. The Bitcoin network can't really go to in its current guise. So we are very much anchored in Bitcoin. We are very much a part of Bitcoin, but we are a branch, an evolutionary branch of Bitcoin that brings in new capabilities to the network in ways nothing else does. Lightning, all the L2s, runes. We use all of those, and we're native to all of those because all of our primitives are Bitcoin primitives. So an iCube and a CryptoSedge or a CryptoCoin can all be processed through Lightning or managed through runes accordingly. But they bring a new capability to Bitcoin, and they bridge Bitcoin with the rest of the world. So in my view, first of all, this Bitcoin versus crypto
Yeah.
debate, it ends at the crypto protocol because it's a nonsensical. It's an argument that's had its day and its time is
Right.
over because now it's really about this decentralized ecosystem
Right.
versus the centralized ecosystem, and it's not even about in the short term, it's a bit of a battle between both, but in the medium term, it's really what role do each of them play? What needs to be centralized versus what needs to be decentralized, and how do these live together as part of this next generation internet, the Internet 3, effectively, that's coming?
And that's some great points because just like the whole Bitcoin versus crypto debate, it's not a zero sum game, is what I tell people all the time. There's not going to be one true winner. There needs to be that interoperability and connectivity to where it's all going to work. And even what you just mentioned, what needs to be decentralized versus centralized, that's not a zero sum game. We've tried decentralizing everything, man. There's some DAOs that I've seen crash and burn. I mean, there's certain things. Even when you talk about company structure, 'cause that's something we talked about a lot at FIO because we are in effect have a DAO model, but there are pieces that need to be centralized, right? Um,
So,
there's certain benefits that have made large companies very successful, and you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, "Oh, we're going completely against that, anti that, decentralize everything." Which is kind of before I thought about the tech when I was just learning back in 2016. It was decentralize everything. This is not good. Same thing with regulations. I'm like, we don't need government involvement, which granted they do mess things up when they get involved, but um, some of those regulations do help speed up innovation or make some innovators more comfortable innovating in that space if they know they have some protection, right? So um, it's not the whole industry. It's not a zero sum game. It's not one versus the other. Both can operate. Just like the Bitcoin is not going to eliminate the dollar completely, right? There's always going to be a use case for both. Kind of like me. Like the other day, I had somebody paying me for I do stitch out hats on the side just for fun, and I had somebody paying me for a hat, and he paid me with a $20 bill. He said, "You do still take this, right?" I said, "Yeah, I can buy Bitcoin with
exactly,
that."
exactly. No, I mean, and I think this to me is the heart of quantum readiness. So when we talk about quantum readiness, everyone in crypto, when you talk about quantum, which is the only, most quantum people don't give crypto any consideration at all. It's just not on their radar. They don't see any relevance to it. And like a lot of AI people, they're just starting to wake up to the crypto space. But all the crypto people obviously see the relevance of quantum because it's a threat, because they see the quantum cryptography. So everybody thinks about quantum resistance. That's the first thing everyone thinks about. It's the only thing that everyone in crypto thinks about with quantum. But quantum is not just about quantum readiness. I gave a presentation on this at the Quantum and AI Summit in New York in October. And my analogy is basically quantum resistance. It's like going to a football game, right? When you go to a football, you go to the stadium. Quantum resistance is like the turnstile. It's like the ticket. It makes sure that anyone who doesn't have a ticket can't come in, and it manages the fort, right? The entry. But quantum readiness is the game. It's what you are there to actually see, right? So resistance key management is just the beginning. It's really about a whole new information paradigm. And the information paradigm about quantum is that it's non binary. That's the first thing. There are two things that really people get all kind of woo-wooed about quantum, but if you want to really kind of take all the mystic magic, which is important, but it's for the wonks who really enjoy that, like myself. But if you want to kind of just really understand on a practical day-to-day basis, there are two things that really are critical and key that will guide most people through their navigation of what quantum actually means in the real world. The first thing is it's non-binary. So it's not 0 or 1, it's 0 and 1. because that's the whole thing. It can be, it's not even just 0 and 1, it's 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 0, right? So it's all graded. There's no more 0, 1, binary, off, on, switch paradigm, which has been the paradigm of computing since computers began in the 30s, effectively, right? So that's the first thing. It's non-binary and in people. It's kind of, I'll give you a bit of a reveal today. In the IQ protocol, we have metacubes, the public data, token cubes, the token that manages it, black cubes, which is the black box, and everyone thinks it's like just the black box, but it actually stands for binary logic avoiding knowledge. So that's why we spell it BLAK, because it is non-binary. It's like, and everything is graded on a scale. So that's the first thing that is really important to understand about quantum. The second thing is that it's about going from big to small. So this whole sort of big data, massive hyper scaling, huge data centers, nuclear power to kind of drive it all. That's all going to kind of be dramatically changed with quantum. And quantum does have its energy demands in a different way, but the approach to data is really about little, accurate, it's precision. It's subatomic. Everything is small. The whole quantum paradigm is about smallness, not about bigness. So those are the two big shifts that come. And I think when you start to look at that world in the crypto world, effectively, then yes, effectively, there is no them us. It's they all have roles to play. Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot we could say about all of that, but fundamentally, I think Bitcoin's role in terms of a security information network is unparalleled. And in a monetary system, it's unparalleled, because that's the thing. Bitcoin's battle is not with other crypto. There's other cryptos that are all battling with Bitcoin, and that's it. Bitcoin's battle has been with the dollar. And by the way, it's won. Bitcoin is the future that has already happened. It just hasn't been equally distributed, right? At
Right.
80,000, 100,000, 120,000, how many more zeros do you need to add before you accept that Bitcoin has basically won the money battle, right? And there's no other cryptocurrency that's anywhere close. It's not. It's never going to be. Bitcoin's won that battle and it's over. But in terms of decentralized compute, on the other hand, Bitcoin's nowhere there, right? And platform at a fundamental information security basis. So, the problem is that all these cryptocurrencies are all trying to be the next Bitcoin. They're all trying, rather than focusing on being the next Intel or the
Right.
next Nvidia, which is what they really have the capability to deliver. They're all trying to be the next Bitcoin, and all the crypto people are just all alpha monkeys, as I call them, right? Just
Oh
kind
man.
of, just like alpha fiends, right? And they just lost sight of the whole paradigm completely. So,
Yeah.
my soapbox.
The one thing I cringe the most about is when people talk about whether it's the project itself or people that are following that token. They're like, "Oh, this is the next Bitcoin." Like, we don't like. Yeah, focus on something else, right? Bitcoin. You're right. It's that peer to peer permissionless transfer of money is what it's designed for. But we need. I mean, there's so many other things we can point at big tech and say, where can we solve some of these centralization problems elsewhere?
Totally,
Let's
totally.
focus.
And
Yeah.
I will say, and I'll put this in complete context. Like I say, we're a branch of Bitcoin, but for me, there are three signal currencies in the world, right? And this kind of puts it in context. And this is a bit controversial, but I will say it, put it out there for now. Effectively, the first signal currency is the US dollar, and that is, as far as fiat money goes, I think it's pretty indisputable that the US dollar is the signal currency of global fiat money. It doesn't really, that's not to say that the yen, the euro, the sterling, the renminbi, the franc, or whatever it is, are irrelevant. They're not irrelevant, they are super relevant, but they're not the signal fiat currency. The
Yeah.
US dollar is a signal currency. As far as decentralized money goes, it's Bitcoin. That's the second signal currency. And what Bitcoin does is sends shockwaves across the whole industry, and it will continue to do, because it basically is the foundation and the signal currency of the crypto age. So everyone kind of talks about being the next Bitcoin. That doesn't exist. There's
Right.
never going to be such a thing. Bitcoin is what Bitcoin is. It's the only one that is the challenge to the signal fiat currency, the dollar. And that's what its job is. And it's doing that job exceptionally well. So we should all just get behind it and give it a hand and kind of move on with where the next evolution is. And as far as I'm concerned, I think the third signal currency, which is what we're introducing next year, is going to be crypto coin. And the reason why crypto coin is going to be the third signal currency because it is the first currency that is backed by data. Where data, so all this talk about real world assets and the big sort of move towards real world assets. Well, the tokenization of real world assets is basically about tokenization of data, the way that we real world assets, the way that the physical world interacts with the digital world is through data.
Yeah.
And so when you have verifiable data, this is why quantum is so important in terms of where it comes. And this is why proof of work in Bitcoin is so foundational as a framework for basing this money system on, because there's a line in our new Meta Knight cryptographic novel that's coming out this week, where we say Bitcoin's energy footprint is not a bug, it is the key feature
Yeah.
because it's physics. It's anchored in real physics, and this is what I mean when I say Bitcoin is the future that has already happened. 19 point something million Bitcoin out of 21 million Bitcoin have already been minted. That hash has already been consumed, right? It's already happened. What more is there? It's like it's over. It's done. The future has already happened. That future has already happened, right? But so this data, in terms of when you actually can take real data that is verifiable, that is anchorable, that is provable, this is the next level of crypto. So when you combine that with proof of price, our proof of price consensus framework, our proof of risk consensus framework for validating, and proof of state, which kind of gives you the actual state of the data, then that's a next generation of monetary. That's a new kind of money in a way that doesn't exist yet, and that we're basically introducing with the coin protocol.
Nice. Nice. All right. Yeah. So you kind of touched on it earlier. So let's talk about what's coming up, right? What's happening? You've got some releases coming up, so let's touch on those.
Yeah, so I think I feel I say this to people. I feel like I've been working at this for a long time, right? Over 16 years, basically building out these protocols and all whatnot. And so one of the big things that's really changed everything has been agentic AI. That's allowed us to really build stuff now really rapidly. And I feel like I've built this spaceship from the future and brought it from this portal to here and now. And so now it's like, okay, we've got this like future spaceship, which basically, in simple terms, is a combination of blockchain, AI, quantum, and spatial computing. And this is kind of our thesis, the convergence thesis, that these are the four technologies that are going to drive everything over the next decade, really the rest of this century. I think these are the foundations of the technology, the new technological, it's the new industrial paradigm. It's like, it's not industry 4.0, it's like the digital, this is the real digital revolution. After the cognitive revolution, the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the digital revolution is the next one. And these are the four key technologies of it. And so our view is that quantum is the next big thing, of course, but quantum, all of these are going to converge. What comes after quantum is the convergence of these technologies. And our basic proposition is we're not waiting for that convergence to happen. We're operating from a perspective of that convergence has happened today. Again, like Bitcoin being the future that's already happened, we are the convergence that has already happened effectively, right? So, in that sense, how do we bring the world to this? So we basically have two vehicles that are really our lead going into 2026. One is, let's start with, one is Meta Knights, which is kind of, I'll come back to Meta Knights, but that's the legacy OG, our mythology story, our cryptographic novel. I think we spoke about it a little bit in the show anyway earlier. So that's kind of one strand. But the other is like So our world basically is split between mythos and logos. So logos is real world, rational, what's actually happening. Mythos is how we package that in storytelling so people can understand. Because it's really about how do we onboard the next billion people into the space, right? And so we have to talk in these two worlds. We have to talk in a world that governments and researchers and academics and engineers and people of the real world that are not in the crypto world can understand and connect and at least process and go through. And then we have to talk in a way that's an emotional that can connect, particularly with the young people, which is where Meta Knights come in. So our two vehicles for that is one is the Crypto-Pian, which is magazine, which is basically it's a new digital crypto agentic magazine. So again, and I won't bore you with the history of how it came about, but short thing is that we launched it at Thanksgiving, the first issue of it. It was a bit of an experiment, and it worked really well. We got like 1,000 views within the first couple of days, with no promotion, marketing, really, just announcing it on LinkedIn and the like. And so that really is this new kind of media experience. So our focus really, certainly for the month of December and probably for all of Q1, is crypto media as this new battleground. And I think this Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers spat is a signal. So the Crypto-Pian is really designed to separate signal from noise. That's really what it is as a publication. Because there's so much noise in the tech space. Period. Forget just crypto. Everywhere there's just so much noise, right? And there's a lot that's going on, and it's very hard to separate signal from noise. So that's really what the Crypto-Pian is designed to be. It's designed to be this agentic publication. Think like Wire meets The Face, right? Or ID, kind of, for those of us old enough to remember those kind of publications. So it's tech culture in that sense, with an authoritative perspective on what's coming, but grounded in, the real possibility, but almost meets like The Economist. And so, where it's grounded in today, but, again, bringing the future into the present is the kind of theme there. So we launched the Crypto-Pian in Thanksgiving, as I said. The next December issue is going to be coming out this month, and it's going to focus on crypto media. The last one was on crypto micro stablecoin, on Agent Moneypenny and our crypto cents and why that's important, how that continues to play a key role. And then this next issue is going to be on crypto media, which I think in the context of the Paramount Netflix spat is because the whole media model is broken, and this massive acquisition cycle is indicative of where we are in that cycle, which we can talk about if we've got enough time to in a minute. And then the second strand is their Meta Knights. And Meta Knights is like our emotional story. So with Meta Knights, we have just completed the cryptographic novel, and this is again going to be another world first, whereby it's on one hand it's going to be a complete new experience based on our whole crypto protocol, and there's some really exciting stuff we're doing on user interface and experience design in these codexes that are in the Crypto-Pian. But then the story is, I think that's what's really going to get a lot of wildfire. We really go into with a little bit our perspective on who Satoshi was, and more importantly, our perspective on why he disappeared, how he disappeared, and what that means. And then we tie that really all into the Meta Knights universe. So it's like a novella, a story within the story. It's like you can think of it like the 21st century Watchmen. For those who are really into comics, it's really takes off that original Watchmen graphic novel franchise. Our history is very much like the Watchmen's history. We started with 13 episodes. We're doing this graphic novel. There's a story within the story, just like the Watchmen. We have a motion comic. The motion comic, Watchmen had a motion movie. But ours is like based around crypto, decentralized AI, agentic AI, shaped in this 21st century, not only narrative, but technology as well. So this is going to allow us to showcase what crypto media storytelling really looks like. Not what it can be, but what it is. And we're going to be pioneering that with the Meta Knight graphic novel, which will be launching first to our investor group. So we did the Reg CF for Meta Knights. We've got 3,500 Reg CF investors. That's kind of our core community. So we'll be launching it to them first this on the 21st of December. So 12/21. Again, all about the numbers, right? And it will be available on Amazon initially, just in print. And that's again another something that I have to admit surprised me when we started the Meta Knights project. I never expected people would really want physical versions of it, but turns out that actually, of course, and it makes sense when you kind of think about it. And even now, when I actually take the physical copies of this and hold on to them, it's like, okay, it feels different. And it's a completely different experience when you read it physically versus when you read it digitally versus when you watch it as a motion comic version. So we're playing with all of those experiences in the codex, and that's all the stuff that's coming. But yeah, that's our Christmas bundle, effectively, where we'll have the Meta Knight graphic novel available on Amazon, and people will be able to pre-order it from the 21st. Our investors will get early access, and then it will be available from there. And the Crypto-Pian December issue will be out. And in the Crypto-Pian, there will be a Meta Knight Season 1 Codex, which is where we have this whole agentic experience of the Meta Knight franchise using AI. And, there's a co-pilot that you can ask it about characters, and you can ask it about rewards. It's got a whole reward system, loyalty system, Knight token integrated baked into it that people can use to kind of really not only learn the story and unpack and learn more about it, but earn as way in a fun way that's really integrated and seamless and agentic in kind of how it flows.
Nice.
All
right, man. So a lot going on, a lot coming. And you said December 21st. That's gonna be that's live on. That's gonna be available on Amazon too at that point.
Yeah, so the graphic novel will be on Amazon. The previous season 1 codex, which is basically all the single episodes, will be in the Crypto-Pian. And so that's kind of open to everyone. The Crypto-Pian's open to everyone. And it's token gated for early members and stuff. Like you can go to the Crypto-Pian today and kind of you'll already see, but it evolves as we do new releases, new publications. So there will be a December issue coming out in December, but on the 21st, the Meta Knight graphic novel becomes available on Amazon initially to our audience, and then people can pre-order it there as well. And I think it's going to be a bit of a story. It's going to be the crypto story going into 2026.
Gotcha. All right. So I was just looking at the dates. It's going to be, I think this episode will be published on or right after the 21st. So if you're watching this already, it's already live. So make sure to look for that edition and tell everybody where, outside of Amazon, where can they find out more?
Outside of that, you can go to everything, the single stop to find out everything about what's going on in our universe going forward will be the Crypto-Pian. So that's TheCryptopian, Crypto-Pian, thecryptopian.com. And that's basically, the home of the Metaproof Group's crypto initiatives, everything, Meta Knights, everything will just be channeled through that going forward.
All right. And we have that link also below in the summary section, so make sure to check it out there. Dele, man, this has been a lot of information. I feel like every time we talk, we could probably record multiple episodes at the time. But as we start to wrap up, and any final words for anyone that's listening, or any challenges to people?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's important not to be tone deaf, right? A lot of people are feeling the markets like feeling upside down, like they're in an episode of Stranger Things at the moment. So I think that there is a bit of anxiety and pain out there, but I think that's there's a perspective we have in the Cryptopian about stable. It's like stay bullish. This it is a time for building, but it's also a time for growth. And I think that we're going into a new era of crypto, period. And I think as far as I am concerned, it's a consolidation of all what crypto has brought from Bitcoin to Solana, effectively. There's a massive amount of rapid of evolution of innovation that's happened in the last 15 years. Now we're stepping into the next chapter, which is how this all now facilitates quantum agentic AI. And we're really excited to be at the forefront of that, and not just from a tech perspective, but from an experience perspective as well. So I would just invite everyone to come to the Crypto and give us your thoughts and feedback as well. We're building this for the community, with the community, and we'd love any feedback around how we can make it better and how we can, make it better serve people. But yeah, I think there's a very exciting new dawn. I think that's the thing I want to the message I want to leave people with. The fact that the market is where it is always good in a way, because it kind of gets rid of a lot of the noise and the people who are just here for the froth. But to the true believers, the best days of this technology are about to begin. So saddle up, buckle up, join in, and yeah, come join the ride.
All right, awesome, Dele. Thanks again for joining us today, man. It's been a pleasure. Challenge everybody to check out what they're doing, follow up. I mean, everybody wants to know what's next, right? What's coming? What's in terms of the industry in general, and crypto, and everything that's tied in with AI and quantum and everything else. And so, I think it's a great resource and a great company to follow. So, thanks again for joining us. Any final words, or are we good to go? You ready to wrap up?
All is one, no one is all. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone. If you're happy holidays, however you celebrate it, get some rest, get ready, chill, energize, because it's gonna be a fast one in 2026. It's gonna move quickly. So hydrate, and if that hydration includes some henny, some Moët Chandon, all the better.
Yeah, I'm already planning a post Christmas fast too, with everything I know we're gonna adjust over the holidays.
There we
So,
go.
all right, Deli, thanks again for joining us. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Peace.